Hello, everybody. My name is Sunpo, and yeah, before you ask, why didn't I just review all the episodes before I do a review of the whole series for RWBY Queendom? And in all honesty, I did watch most of it, but that was like a little bit afterwards. And since because I was studying for the finals and of course some midterms by that time, I didn't have time to make those episodes or at least the reviews for those episodes. But I'm gonna be kind of honest about this. If you guys remember from my previous review, I did actually promise that I would just review the whole series once the original story is over. If it actually was just gonna be the whole thing, or at the very least, I'll just do the review of the whole series once the series is over, or the original story. But I guess it was both. Apparently, 12 episodes. I don't know why just 12 episodes, but okay, fine by me. It makes my life a little easier. But yeah, I rewatched all the episodes 3 times, and that includes the ones I just reviewed for already. And I think I'm ready. Also, I did watch some of the English dub. Now, the reason why you're seeing my face right now is for one thing, I did actually make a review for the whole series already, edited some of the clips. Unfortunately, it's all been copyrighted, and I can't show you any of that. So I can't really show you most of those other things. And the thing is like for my other reviews, I could just show you clips or at least some screenshots of some of the stuff, but in all honesty, that'll take a little too much time for me, and I have a lot more other things to do for other episodes. I had to catch up a lot of stuff that I missed recording for my midterms and finals from before. So yeah, I'm not going to do that extreme measures of just showing you clips. I really want to show you clips, and or at least the screenshots. But in risk of right now for copyright strike, I am not going to do it. And if you're wondering, yes, it is Rooster Teeth who actually copyright the whole thing. Hmm. Hopefully, Death Battle would just be a different story. Hopefully, I just don't get monetized. Hopefully, but without further ado, let's begin the review, shall we? And this is going to be a super quick one because I don't want to repeat myself again and again when I did the review. So let's just get this over with. Okay. Episode 1 to 3. You guys already know my gripes and my praises for those 3 episodes alone and how I feel about them. Rewatch, still pretty fine. They're still the best 3 episodes in this side series. And yeah, the same problems are still there. Characterization is still pretty off, especially with Blake. Weiss is the only one that's super positive and basically got more developed, right? And then there's Team Juniper in episode 3. The biggest, most drastic miss was Pyrrha. We are not going to talk about Pyrrha. I already said too much about her already. Hopefully she doesn't kill me in my sleep. Either way, Ren's perfect. Still the same as always. Nora is less energetic, still peppy, but very much less energetic and funny. Very less. Then there's Jean, who now I realize is a bit more in line with how the fandom portrays Jean. And if you don't know what I mean, I'm not going to tell you because it is a bit disturbing. But there's some signs of that there. And the only sign that you can see, and thankfully, or not thankfully, I guess, I don't know how they're going to write him in the future. But like he doesn't show up much in the show until basically in the end, where he's just like more like a confident, don't care how people think about him type of Jean, instead of the one who's basically like a dork. And I miss dork Jean, honestly. He was a pretty relatable character. Not anymore, honestly. But going forward, episode 4, like I said before, it is a very drastic change. There's no warning on episode 3 how we get to episode 4. And then kind of just went on with that, Episode 4 is just basically how Ruby just goes to the kingdom, and then episode 5 is the aftermath where she has to get saved afterwards. Both pretty good episodes, just don't know how it was going. Episode 6 is basically when we get the exclamation at some point, basically grouping up with the rest of the team, and then go back in again. Episode 7. Um, episode 7 is also pretty much explanatory, but it's just that, they try a newer plan. That's all I could say. Episode 8 is when they realize that, it's a nightmare out there, and of course, this is Weiss's nightmare. Then X now is more in line and more explained on how we got here, why is this happening, and why is Weiss not exactly here and it being a bad guy. All been explained in episode 6. This could have been useful in episode 4, but I mean, I don't know. Or at least a hint in episode 3. There's no hints whatsoever, just a new character. It's like this character is foreshadowed the whole thing. I mean, I don't know. I'm not the writer, but like, goddamn, this is just so confusing. Episode 8. I think I said episode 8 already. Yeah, I'm kind of forgetting right now. Episode 9. They kind of like, yeah, they basically got up against like Weiss and the others in episode 8. Like, yeah, Weiss and the others, more like the soldiers, right, from episode 8. Episode 9 basically takes that and then, big win, quote unquote win, because at the end of that, I do believe I remember correctly, because to be honest, I'm still getting a little confused on this placement, but like, Ruby wakes up in a dream with all her friends turned to dolls. So, yeah, that's basically episode 8. Yeah, episode 9, this is where I actually kind of drifted off. Even watching it 3 times, I'm still forgetting about this episode because this is not exactly that interesting. But what you would just need to know is just that, well, Ruby wakes up from the nightmare thanks to Jean, and that's all you need to know. That's the only thing I remember. I don't remember what's in that, but like, yeah, that's just what happens. Episode 10. Um, Blake has a new plan. Jane disagrees, but Blake still pushes on. That's also all I can remember. That's literally it. I think all the extra stuff was just fluff or fight scenes, and it's not really that memorable, at least to me. Episode 11. Yang's big moment. She fights a giant statue, and it was one of the most awesome things I ever seen. Is what I would have said if her fight scene wasn't very janky already. I mean, like, they didn't fix it. I mean, they fixed for Ruby and the others and kind of polished it, but never did for Yang. Maybe, I don't know. It still seems like the same jank. Maybe it's just still a perspective problem. But also, Jean and possibly another new character just basically helps and fights another statue. Kind of just proves that Yang is actually stronger than two. So that's all I'm gonna say. And then there's episode 12, the episode that I just basically mostly remembered because it's not just the last one, but it has the cafeteria fight scene that only lasts about 10 seconds or 20 seconds. Pretty sad that it only lasted that long because it's basically like at the very end, and then they just kind of transfer a little bit more and stuff like that. I don't remember. I only remember watching at least 30 seconds of the cafeteria fight. I don't know if it extended, but on Crunchyroll, when I watched it, at least all 3 times, that most of it just was cut out, and then seems to be cut out, and then just like we moved on to the next part of the volumes up ahead. But that's where the series ends. 12 episodes. I'm both glad but also disappointed that it kind of ended. I really don't know. So, as you can tell, I'm basically mixed on the whole thing. Why am I mixed? Well, what are the positives? I mean, the positives are pretty obvious. The music is still pretty good. It's strangely in Japanese. In Japanese, it's still sung in English for most of the English tracks. So, I don't know. English dub voice actors, they put in a much more. They English voice actors put a lot more soul in this than the Japanese voice actors. I don't know, but this is a trend I'm seeing currently. So I don't know. Um, Next positive is basically the animation. I said the animation right, didn't I? The voices, the music. Maybe that's it. That's all the praise I can say. Negatives. The original story. because of the expectation that I have with episode 3, 1 to 3. If you take those out, the original story is pretty good. However, since because the original story itself is a bit too long for my liking, maybe because of maybe because of episodes 1 to 3, could just be me. But I think you just need to take out at least 2 episodes from it. We'll be all good. Because 8 episodes of the original series seems to be a bit too much because of the expectations you guys set from episodes 1 to 3. The second part, characterization. The characters of the series are very drastically different, but thankfully it does kind of get better as the series goes on with the original content, except for Blake. Blake still has the biggest problem. She doesn't change. She's still the same character, which is really just might be just a tiny bit of a disservice to Blake. This Blake is not how the original Blake basically was in the first volumes or even the modern incarnation basically of Blake. So I don't know what's going on with that. Um, the third biggest gripe I do believe is just the fight scenes in general. I mean, like I like it; they improve a lot. It was just with Yang, it was still there, and even then, even what they kind of did a bit more fast, they put in more speed into the fight scenes. They're still pretty much like slow or average speed, at least to me. Maybe I'm been watching way too much DBZ fights. Honestly, I mean, like I'm a big DBZ fan, so Dragon Ball Z fan or Dragon Ball fan in general. I mean, like I watched like the original Z, Super, GT. GT was actually my childhood. I still have a special place in my heart, but I don't really like GT all that much anymore. But like, just gotta say, I mean, like, yeah, that's about it. But maybe the fight scenes is just a nitpick at most. But the characterization is the biggest problem with that, possibly. But it could also be a nitpick. The only thing I would say is just that the story seems a bit too long and there's too much fluff in that story. So maybe cut some of that out. Maybe that would be equal to 1 episode, and that's about it. Overall ranking. From my other previous reviews for each episode separately, I did say that it was mostly like a 7 out of 10 to 9 out of 10. Unfortunately, I had to give this series a 6 out of 10, and it's for the exact reasons why it was negative. And there's barely any positives that I could say besides of the voice acting, the music, and uh, animation. That's all the positives I could say. And then there's the negatives, which are just nitpicks. The only thing is what's true for me, and the reason why I put it at 6 out of 10 is because that the original story is a bit too long. And if that's not the case, then it's just the expectations as episodes 1 and 3 set out. Episodes 1 and 3 shows that this is supposed to be a retelling or a reimagining of the original volume of the original RWBY series. Unfortunately, it's not the case. Something in my eyes, sorry. So unfortunately, that's not the case since because episode 4 happened, and yeah, we just got to a new story with no explanation whatsoever. If episodes 1 and 3 were just taken out completely, or at the very least, like condense episodes 1, 2, and 3 all together as one episode, 30 minutes, with the final few minutes being the course to set up for episode 4. That's kind of what I want. You can explain why this actually happens in episode 6. It's just that we need a transition from 3 to 4 because this is a rough situation, and I just kind of threw me out of the water, honestly. And to be honest, if there was a transition, then I wouldn't have this problem, honestly. But since because it had put a high expectations of basically this being just a rewrite of or like a retelling or reimagining of the original first volume, then yeah, I was completely disappointed. But then this original story did back it up because it was interesting to a point. I actually stopped caring about the original story once we hit like episode 7 because I mean like I'm still waiting to go back to like the retelling of volume 1, which never happened. It happened at the last episode. And then the series just stopped there because apparently 12 episodes is what the original plan was. At least it's an open ending. But unfortunately, even with the open ending of this series, people who watched the original series would already know what happened. But at least it's good for any of the newcomers just to go back and go and watch the original series. The original series still a gem. I still like it. I'm still a RWBY fan. This is not like a me. This is not like me dropping the whole RWBY series altogether. I mean the RWBY fandom altogether. I mean like no. I'm gonna still be part of the fandom. At least maybe in the middle section of the fandom still. You don't know how toxic the RWBY fandom on Facebook is. But like yeah. Either way, that's kind of about it for me, and that's just all my opinions. And again, I do apologize if you just notice it's just me and the face cam. I really just I really want to show you the clips like how other reviewers do, but I don't know how they got past the copyright strike from Rooster Teeth because I got that. My channel didn't get striked, but like nobody can see that video, so beats me. So this is the only alternative, and this is actually half as long as my original take was. So yeah, I think this might be a good review stop. So yeah, I'm Sun Po. These are my opinions of RwbyIceQueendom. I do recommend to the stronger RWBY fans, like the hardcore ones, before the RWBY fans of that are just like average enjoyers. I would still watch this, but just be on regard that your expectations should be low for the story at this point. But maybe that's just maybe the only thing I can try to tell you because the characterization is just a bit very much off for most of them. Only Weiss got the best treatment out of this, and even she didn't appear that much except being an antagonist with no more character development after episode 3. So I don't know. Other than that, yeah, take care and yeah. If you're gonna ask, I am going to be doing a whole series review of the original RWBY series, and the reason why, and if you guys didn't know, there is no Volume 10 for RWBY as of now, because Volume 10 was never greenlit for the original RWBY series. So the RWBY series is going to end at Volume 9, and we haven't really got all the relics yet. I'm hoping they're not going to half-ass it and just leave it as an open ending so Volume 10 could appear, or at least for the fandom to continue with Volume 9. Hopefully, Volume 9 is a open ending and not a closed ending. Again, catch you guys later, and look out for a different review, possibly later next year. I have a lot of episodes to watch from Miraculous Ladybug.